to the way that first game went, and really how the guys responded the first inning of the second game to go out there and put up 4. That time between the game was very valuable for them because you have to be able to flush it, and I thought they've done a good job of that all year. And even right there in the ninth, when you could put your head down and be bummed, pop up, guy on third, head up, and Dernetti gets on and then scores the run. Melton coming up big. I mean, all in all, very wild day to say the least. What we had like 9-10 arms go in that first game. It's like 5.5 hours. I mean, there's a lot, So the guys are definitely going to have. And we had Bizana playing center field. So I had to mix things up, just making sure like some of the guys definitely the heat and dehydration getting to them a bit. So you're just trying to take care of their bodies, man. But all the while they're very competitive. Ferrer had zero interest in not pitching multiple innings right there. He wanted to make sure that the rest of the arms were taken care of, and he wanted the baseball. So I'm just there's a lot to be like frustrated and upset about, especially in the first game. Both sides, like just free bases galore and some unfortunate events. However, these guys are tough cookies, man. I love them to death, and they care about one another, and they care about wearing the uniform and doing it right.
What's your health status right now?
Mentally or physically? No. We'll have to assess it all. I haven't even had a chance to talk to the trainer and just really lay it all out, but I'm sure there's a handful of guys that are pretty banged up. Boyd came out of the game in the first, just tightness, So just being precautionary on a lot of those things. So I'm sure tonight, they're going to be taking ice baths. There's not going to be any ice in the vending or the ice machine at the hotel. They're all going to take it back to their rooms, which is good. But we'll have to just see in the morning. I don't ever jump to conclusions too early on it.
Was everybody but Gavin just cramps and dehydration though? He was the only one who had.
Yeah, a lot of that. Even in his, we'll see how it is tomorrow. I kind of understood the position he was in back there from catching, seeing having the same kind of deal happen to me. And sometimes that next day is a lot better. Sometimes just the initial turn, tweak or something just feels a little uncomfortable, or a little more than that. But it's tomorrow morning. We're gonna have to see where everyone's at.
It's kind of had the feeling of one of those days that can bring a team together, going through all the adversity, spending that much time together. And then for it to end the way it did, do you feel like maybe that was starting to happen a little bit?
Well, when we had that 4-game losing streak, we sat down in the dugout and just brought up to each other that part of what makes the journey so special is going through the rough patches and knowing that you're drawing closer as a family. And so every time there's hardship, that first game that was outrageous. But it was we've been at the field since 10. What time is it right now?
11:30.
11:30.
Right.
Did you guys pull up around 10? I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Drop. That's when the bus left the hotel. Drop the pitchers off, let them play catch, but really, they're gamers, man. They're all going to tell me they're great for tomorrow.
What was the mood like? You said the in-between was good. What was the discussion like? What was
Not initially. Initially, everyone's frustrated, Point 2 innings out of our starter, and a handful of other guys unable to really eat up a handful of innings, and then there at the end, we just free base galore and knocks, and we didn't defend. We didn't do anything well. So you gotta have time to process it and be upset. And that's why we go in the clubhouse. But eventually, you got to move on. It's important to have that little piece, that time to be frustrated. You should be pretty upset with the way we performed, all in all.
Generally speaking, 47 runs combined, 53 hits combined, 79 base runners combined. I think there was an insane amount of pitches. I didn't write it down, but just an offensive performance like that in one game. You ever been a part of something like that? How would you describe what you were part of?
I'm going to process that one tonight. Yeah. I haven't seen anything like that. It's pretty wild. Just, big innings happen. from walks, from balks, from errors, you name it. And so but like you can start to lose a little bit of focus with being on your feet so long. Our guys were well rested; they're ready to go out and go. Obviously, you take care of the first game, and it puts you in a much better position for tomorrow. But hey, man, it's time to dig deep. See what we got.
Coach, speaking of tomorrow, I know you guys have obviously been through a lot today mentally and physically, but what's going to be the key in the championship game tomorrow against more of a well-rested Stanford team who didn't have to play those back-to-back games like you guys did?
Play fundamental baseball. We know Stanford, they got good pitching, they can hit, they're a solid ball club. So it really just comes down to doing all the little things, right? You give them a little bit, you give them a free base, they're going to take advantage of it. Everyone's seen it. They leave the yard a lot, so we got to execute good pitches down in the zone. That's just what it is at this point, right? Play baseball the right way. Right. But a lot of it just comes from confidence, keeping your head, on your shoulders the right way, and not letting all the little things get to you. There was, Dernetti was frustrated that he wasn't able to make a play earlier today, and this was an inning later, and he just looked down the dump and said, "What's up, man?" It's like that grounder. And I was like, "Well, let's not let it get to you. Otherwise, it's gonna affect the next one, right?" And I thought he did a good job picking himself up, and the other guy's picking him up as well. Dude, you're a shortstop. Go out there and handle your business. You're fine. We kicked the ball late, and Ferrer was out there. Ferrer was so frustrated that he, allowed a few runs, and that's he hasn't done a lot of that this year. And so looking at him, hey, how you feel? I'm going back out, and I'm going to take care of the rest of the arms, and I'm going to get zeros. So you saw it in his eyes. He was convicted. He was angry in a good way.
I think you kind of touched on it there, but the no complaining rule that you've talked about before, it's kind of built for days like this, right?
Yeah, you got to stay away from it. Otherwise, it just winds you down. I don't think you have a chance to come back and win the second game if you sit around and mope and let it bury you. There's a handful of things to be frustrated about from the first game, sure, but you got to move on, and we're going to be able to process that stuff throughout the week. But right now, the objective is to go out and take care of tomorrow's game.
Who do you have to start pitching-wise tomorrow?
Yeah.
Name somebody.
Gretler. No, I'm kidding. No, a handful of guys that didn't throw a ton of pitches today. Jaron Hunter hasn't thrown. He's a guy who's built up, and it's been since Wednesday, so he's had a handful of days rest. But all the guys have already, after the game, come by me and nudge me and go, "I got one tomorrow. I got one tomorrow." And then the next guy heard that, and he's like, "I got two tomorrow." So we'll figure it out.
Why does this tournament mean so much? A lot of people look at it and say, you've already got a national seed locked up. Why are these guys trying so hard to win this tournament?
Winning is a skill. Winning is something you have to develop and really care about. So does it matter if it's Tuesday or playing a midweek game, or does it matter if it's the first game of the season or the last day? All should be played the same. With your mind and your heart, and just putting it all out there. So, if you tell one of these guys, hey, 50% is okay, that's not okay. That's never. It says it right when you walk in our door at our clubhouse, growing our family of champions in all that we do, and that means eating breakfast like a champion. That means going to class like a champion. That means walk, talk, and act like a champion all day. So. And if we start to say, it's okay to give in or push away, then we're sending the wrong message. These guys are competitive. They would kick me out of the clubhouse if I said, it's no big deal. Because every chance they get to go out there and play together is a big deal.
That's one for Mitch.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Mitch.